agenda items, there was a question made last meeting about being able to participate via Zoom or Google Chat, whatever the town uses. And the answer is boards may, but do not have to allow one or more members participating in a meeting by telephone or other electronic means if attendance is not reasonably practical. And a note must be made, that must be noted in the minutes. It has to be in the minutes why that's not physically practical. All members can simultaneously hear and speak with each other. So everybody has to be able to, you can't just phone into one person's cell phone. You gotta be heard by everybody.
Right, they can't be cutting out like the
Right.
connection, it has to be a good connection.
And a quorum still has to be represented here physically within the physical meeting. And all parts of the meeting are to be audible. We just asked if the couple other boards that I would consider the same level as us, elected, but officials, if they do allow that, and they do. The one caveat, when that does occur, we do have to do a roll call vote, so that I would go around the table asking each person each time.
For every single vote.
And then who's ever not present. So I will call for discussion, or does anybody want to make a motion to allow that?
No. Do we need a motion to discuss, is that?
I was opening up for discussion on my own,
Mhm.
so I don't think I need a motion, but where do we stand on that? In order to go one way or another, we need a motion and a second, and then I would call a vote.
But we would still need a quorum here.
Quorum in presence as always. Now, with that being said, if the roads are not safe, we don't meet. Okay?
We would call it.
We call it. So we're not asking you to come down when it's unreasonably due to weather. This was a question posed of a fellow board member, and so Alicia kindly looked into it and gave me the answer.
Make a motion to accept.
So our
Yes,
participation.
according to the match.
Very good. Jessica made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. Also not on the agenda, but we're gonna go next, as Alicia's gonna give us some updates.
Yes, so I handed you guys out a lot of paperwork. At our last meeting, we did discuss our insurance coverage. So I had a great conversation with Primex, and they have this lovely sheet here that says the 10 reasons why we choose Primex instead of like an outside private carrier. One of the questions that Jessica had asked was if we got a higher deductible, would we get a better rate? Because there's a pool, we all get the same coverage and we all get the same deductible. So everyone in the pool has $1,000 deductible. If we went outside of Primex for coverage, we would lose our immunities for things like the recreation, roads, to get out of a claim. So we're covered, we have more coverage for what Primex says than a outside entity would be able to cover us for. Primex also covers for cyber security and cyber, which what's the right word? Other insurance carriers typically don't. We also get a lot of education and training and conferences to be better about, I think it's one of the numbers here. The Primex is a not-for-profit public entity risk pool dedicated to serving New Hampshire cities, towns, schools, and other organizations. Pooling brings members together in a shared commitment to reduce risk and lower cost. Rate stability and return of surplus, because pooling isn't driven by profit. Our pricing is stable, fair, and focused on the long term. Annual audits determine whether surplus can be returned to members, reducing overall coverage cost. We also do have HR and legal support through them. So in an instance, let's say, an employee wants to sue the town for an employee-related issue and they actually go to court for us. So instead of me paying our other legal team, Primex steps in, our other paid legal steps away, and now Primex steps in and I'm not paying a legal bill anymore. Primex covers workers' comp issues like that. We're an outside entity or claim insurance carrier may not have that. Training, our members have access to a wide variety of in-person and virtual at no additional cost training, including live sessions, on-demand courses, and customized programs. And that's for all departments. One they do is defensive driving. So members of our police department, highway department, fire department can do a defensive driving class. They'll do confined spaces. They train HR supervisors in all kinds of areas. Number 5 talks about the deductible. We have $1,000 deductible for property and auto claims. No deductibles for liability, $100 glass replacement, 0 deductible for liability and cyber claims. I don't know how many towns you've seen in the paper who do get hacked and ransom for millions of dollars. Primex helps mitigate that and save, all of our information and our protections like in that. We went to a cybersecurity summit that hosted by Primex and realized that there's actually good hackers and bad hackers and people who were respectable hackers who will actually work with you and return what they stole from you if you pay them. And then there's some that won't and still take your money. And I was like, oh, I have no idea. The personalized claim support. So I hope that answers some of those. Ron, you had questions about the trails. So trails are covered under liability. We have 2 million per occurrence and 10 million aggregate. I think that was all the questions. The 2 covered bridges are not currently covered. They don't cover footbridges, but we could go to an outside insurance carrier to get coverage specifically for those. She did say that some of those have a very high deductible, upwards of $150,000.
Yeah, well, the covered bridges seem to be a target sometimes for pyromaniacs. They want to set them on fire. The state has lost a lot of bridges over the years from vandalism. People starting on fire. These aren't antique bridges. These bridges were manufactured up in Conway years ago. And they went to Dover, paid for the bridges, and then we bought them for $1. So that was a pretty good deal. We found a lot of money. We found about $1.50 in it, so we didn't lose any money on it. Thanks to Mark and his crew got them moved. So, but I know that some bridges, the ones over on the Sugar River, the train bridges, they got a sprinkler system for this because of that. Just to be aware that that's vandalism.
Oh, yes, we've dealt with it before.
Yeah, okay.
Did that answer everyone's questions about the insurance, Jessica? How did you, I know you work with insurance, did that kind of help?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an excellent program. I was just wondering if they have balance insurance on the options for the inclusion of the deductible. We could save us some money, but if everything's $1,000 across the woods, it has to be.
And then really quick with the claims, the cruiser rollover that we had over the summer, I've already got in our check for the cruiser and then the equipment upfit for the replacement. We've already started getting checks for that, so we can start ordering those.
It wasn't so much questioning the coverage of the company.
No, yeah, no, it's a great question. She said it was a great question, but no, everyone pays the same, because we're all part of the whole. I also handed out to you our revised estimated revenue, so we just set back for the beginning of November. We'll discuss this later on when we have a revenues section and towards the end of our meetings, but Just wanted to give it to you well in advance so you could review it. These revenues are what we use to offset the 25 tax revenues. We'll use these as a best guess estimate for 26 next fall. And again, if anyone has any questions on those, just let me know. I also provided this PowerPoint that I created. It's fund balance, reserves, unassigned fund balance, unspent fund balance, whatever you want to call it. Those are the names that it always gets called. We won't discuss this tonight. We will in a future meeting, but I just wanted to give it to you so you could read it, digest it, and come back to me with any questions. This is kind of the unknown topic for many, so this year I said I'm gonna create a PowerPoint, and I did, so hopefully this helps out. What we didn't say before is this year we did purchase adaptive devices, so the speakers, the microphones that you have on your desk are so that anyone who needs a little bit of help hearing the speakers in the room, everyone at the table, and anyone who sits here, the adaptive devices help. We have them in a headphone, headphone style, and then a mini earplug. So Ron is gonna give it a go tonight to see if he can, hear better. And also just for the members, but it is hard for everyone at the opposite ends to hear, especially our women who have nice soft voices. So just remember to speak loud and proud so everyone can hear you. We have provided you guys with a sticky note, kind of paper, a highlighter, a pen, and a ruler. I will collect these at the end of our meetings, just so we can reuse whatever is left for next year, but that would help make your guys' job a little bit easier, keep track of things, keep notes.
Not be late. Sorry, I apologize for being late. I had to do a little veterinary thing for friends.
And then last but not least, at our last meeting, I announced that the tax rate was 17, was it 59? I said it was, and then as I was doing my calculation, I wasn't mapping out right. It wasn't coming out together, and I kept literally spent 8 hours on the Friday after, about to cry, calling DRA, yelling at our vendor saying, your system isn't working, your system isn't working. Called DRA, he says, oh, you're gonna have to fix it and change everything. I said, but I know everything is right. There's something wrong. And what was wrong was the new system that they have. So there's like 5 different systems that flow into another system. And it wasn't picking up the value for the town minus the large exemptions, the commercial exemption. So it wasn't pulling that field. And he's like, oh yeah, this is what it is. It is very wrong. I was like, yeah, it is very wrong. And then it fixed itself. But the good news is it reduced our tax rate by 10 cents because the value increased. So that was good all around. So Colleen had sent you a reminder saying we were fixing it, and now what I have published to you today is set in stone, been signed, been approved, been blessed. So that is 1739 is the new rate. And then on the back side is what we are going to submit to is our press release essentially. Any questions on that?
I do have a question on the, you passed out the agenda for December 11th. And my question is, you got police, fire, emergency management, and highway all that one night. You think we're gonna be able to fit them all in?
Yes, I do, and we're still waiting on police and fire's union contracts to be settled, so that's why I've got to push them off as far as possible.
So I know Mr. Gardner wasn't with us. I think everyone else may have been. This December 11th takes the place of December 4th where we will not be meeting. That's why it looks like the same.
And then if we do get pushed out, we still have room for one more meeting on the 8th, I believe. Okay, I know, and they'll go quick.
Tonight looks like a good one.
Nobody's really asking for much or more in their budgets this year, so Kind of status quo, but not that is all I have.
I think last week was by far our longest meeting that you
Yeah.
could see.
Yeah.
Colleen, I was off my computer for the week. Did I miss minutes?
You did not.
Oh,
I finished them today,
okay.
sent them to Alicia. Alicia will take a peek at them. Because we had the holiday and we were working on that issue with the tax rate, they just.
That's fine. So we will do 2 sets of minutes at our next meeting.
The next meeting.
That's fine. Just to go over how we, do this, as some of us are on our first or second time. We are gonna have the department heads or representatives come forward and sit at the table, explain to us about their previous year. A little bit about what might be in their budget. When they were done, I will open up different parts of their budget to discuss. We do not jump ahead or behind. We talk about just the section that I've opened, which is usually a page reference. If it's a super long, if it's a 2-page, I might say we're opening up just the first page and then go on to the second. And keep our questions, in regards to whatever section we first opened, so.
And I think Ryan, you were not here at the last one, so in the agenda section, the agenda will go by for the week, and then the number is the tab number. So we're gonna go right through each tab. We've kind of made each department go right in order.
Right.
So tonight we're starting on tab 10.
So for which an oldie but a goodie like myself says thank you for making this go in order. Ron will. We used to go out of order. So any other?
Nope.
Businesses, you guys can start rolling.
And again, I have the most up-to-date actual spend, so if anyone wants to know what we are as of yesterday or Monday or Tuesday.
Actually, I do have one last thing. The sheet that we all signed and gave Colleen addresses and stuff, would you like to share it with Brian, or would you like him to? Just hand it down once and done. I think everybody else at the table was here last week. You're just gonna verify your, method of communication, sir.
Yep.
And now on with the show. Thank you for your patience for the housekeeping.
A brief song and dance number.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Karen Centro, I'm the town planner, in charge of land use. You have 3 separate budgets in front of you, but I take care of land use, building and, codes, and then conservation commission, and kind of oversee them as well. So kind of master, jack of all trades, master of none, or master of all 3. I'm not quite sure which. Depends on the day, I think. For those of you that aren't too familiar, under land use, we act as staff liaison to both the planning board and the zoning board of adjustment, and then separately conservation commission, site plan subdivisions, that kind of thing, and then anything that's involved with it, and then, hey, I'm buying a piece of property, what can you tell me, or about 1 million phone calls a day. We've been very, very busy the last few weeks. It seems to be a lot of properties and everything for sale, so we're constantly getting those phone calls. But I don't wanna keep you. If you guys have any questions as to what I do, you're more than welcome to shout them out, and my office door is always open, so if you're curious as to what we're up to, come on down, stop in, say hi, and we'll give you the nickel tour. Might even ask you for the nickel too.
So with that, we'll open up the land use section, which is under tab 10. For discussion, any questions here? Just a reminder, when posing a question, please list the last 3 digits would be the most helpful so that anybody else can follow along. I'll start if everybody else is gonna be shy this evening. Postage. Are we done mailing?
I'm sorry?
Postage, are we done mailing things?
We still are required to send out abutters notices and things like that, certified mail. And when we do have certain, if we're following up with an applicant or say, hey, it's been a while, we tend to do it via the mail. We do as much via email as possible, but there are some requirements.
Love the decrease.
We try to be as frugal as possible, email whenever possible, but sometimes you just have to send it postal.
Do we have any big subdivisions coming up?
We've had some inquiries. I wouldn't say big, 6 to 8 lot subdivisions, depending on the properties. that's kind of where we're looking at right now with some of the inquiries that we've had. We did have one that was over, by St. Francis Home that has long expired. The property's up for sale. That originally was an 8-lot subdivision, so whether the new, when it sells, if they're gonna pursue it again, we don't know, but.
So the thing on Mile Hill, Road Yards,
That's long been approved. It's not new, but it did receive all its final approvals. He has posted all his, securities, so he is good to start breaking ground. Let's just say I'm not holding my breath. But he did receive all his final approvals. A lot of it had been the intermunicipal agreement that held him up for quite some time. That got into place, and then, dealing with some sewer versus septic system on the Belmont side of things. He managed to work that out and has fit the systems in, so he's got less approvals.
so there's a road off in Belmont and also off Mile Hill in Laconia.
Correct. It starts mostly in Laconia. There is a leg that comes, as it comes up, it loops into Belmont off of the Laconia side, so you kind of have an upper loop. There's 2 sections, there's a loop in, and then as you move further up, the bulk of it's in Laconia, and then it loops back in, and there's a few houses off the top of that loop that are in Belmont.
So someday it'll probably get built.
Someday.
How many years has he been working on that?
It was, it's only been 19 years. I mean, it was originally brought to the board in 2006.
Karen, I
Yes.
noticed, you and your staff took a significant pay cut because of the default budget.
Mhm.
You guys okay if it defaults again?
We will be, obviously I want to keep my staff, supported with the budget, and we would work some miracles in other lines and try to move things and manipulate, as much as we can. We are a frugal bunch, so, we do the best we can with what we have, and salaries are important to us, obviously, so I keep my staff, because my staff is
Your
fantastic.
technician particularly.
Yes.
The
No, we do not want to lose him. He's got a lot of experience.
retirement line,
Mhm.
is that money, held aside like a 401k or something like that? It says 36,000, it's line 324.
That is the state retirement,
Yeah, see, that's.
that being a municipality,
Yeah.
that is, we're required by the state to pay into that.
And,
Yeah, it's a retirement
and then
system.
you have a plan of each of the.
So we discussed that, I think last week, so the town pays, excuse me. Sorry, I was thinking healthcare, so I'm a little off, sorry about that. Let me get my bearings on
Yeah.
the retirement.
New Hampshire retirement system, we all pay into it,
Yeah.
and then we all you have an account.
In the hopes that someday we can retire.
Right.
Yes.
So as you see, so her employees, they're in the group 1 tier, so the town pays 12.75% of their wages, so that calculation you see is, so there's the planner, the land use administrative assistant, and the tech, and the planning clerk is part-time, so she doesn't get retirement. So we add all those salaries, and then we figure out the retirement rate, and that number, that 35, is what we pay on the employee's behalf to go into their New Hampshire retirement.
So you do get that, even though wages might not be of the stuff, at least you have a retirement.
We do have we do have some retirement, so it is, like I said,
And
it's
this
a
case, the
percentage.
employee pays 7%.
Oh.
So into the plan, and then 12 and a half.
12 and a half, so.
12.75.
Of their salary.
Yeah.
So if they don't get an increase, they don't get an increase in their benefit.
Correct.
Either.
And then you'll see on line 101 and 103, it says 39 hours
And 36 hours.
and 36. So they also, so the town planner and the land use tech also work a few hours for the Conservation Commission. So when we talk about the Conservation Commission, you'll see a few hours
Our
paid out
salaries are split, yeah.
into theirs. So then you could add those 2 salaries together, which would be their full ultimate salary.
In PD and fire, the numbers are higher. So just ballpark, it's 20, I think it's like 29, 15, and then 30% that we pay in for PD and fire.
They're a different tier.
Yeah.
Further questions?
So we have a representative for the Lake Region Planning Commission.
Yes. Rod, my land use technician, serves as the liaison simply because the meetings are on the same night as our planning board, so as hard as I try, I can't be in two places at once. But Rod is our representative. He's also on their executive committee.
And I have another question, this to do with
Mhm.
the subdivision
Mhm.
by the town beach.
Yes,
Goes along that.
Naughty Way.
20 acres.
Mhm.
Yeah, my understanding was that he needed, because of the road was being so long, he needed access to exit on the
A
south.
secondary access, the planning board granted a waiver to the linear footage, so he was able to do
Just
it.
that's across the trail.
Correct. He is actually, yeah,
Well, that was my word that.
I know he has
that
been.
road, the biking.
I believe the intent is he is negotiating with the state to have an emergency exit out that direction, like a fire road, but that would be the only time that will be used in the event of an emergency. Because that road is 3/4 of a mile long.
Right, I know that, but, the disrupting the
The,
Swan Trail,
correct.
you'd have to cross that
Mhm.
and go out by,
It comes out by shooters.
shooters,
Yeah, Old State Road.
Yeah, but Old State Road, yeah, there's, he owns a property there. There's a state parcel in between that I know he's been negotiating an access. But the intent, as far as I understand, because again, this is outside the subdivision approval, it would be a gated exit.
well, because that's in the state right away, I mean, the state owns that property.
Correct, in the middle.
Trailers.
Yes, yeah, he's negotiating just like he has an access easement to go. When you come down Leslie Roberts Drive and turn onto Naughty Way, Naughty Way is a private road, but that first section is actually over state property as access easements. And he's looking to negotiate the same as an exit, as an emergency exit, gated exit,
But you'd have to build a road.
at least a gravel road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drop the-
Any more questions in regards to this budget?
Line 314, the health insurance, did you have somebody that increased their members or? members?
Yes, we did have a member go from not being on our insurance to having to hop on our insurance.
I don't know that.
We're gonna take a quick break. Second, because Connie is the absolute best, and she can't type, she needs to focus on. what she needs to focus on.
Yes, we had someone who was not on our insurance who did hop on later on this year, and so we're fully representing them in the healthcare next year.
All right. You get everything you need from those comments? I just wanna make sure you're caught up. I'm not,
Yeah, no.
she's trying to get everything we're saying and like, wanna make sure.
Not sure.
So we talked a little bit about our insurance last year, that when, last week, that when our open enrollment changes or our life events, we can see big changes even within having our same staff. And this is one, they have the right to change. Or maybe their spouse suddenly didn't have it and change policy.
Sometimes it's a life event and you have no more children on your health insurance,
yeah, we
and now
do
it's
that.
better for you to have.
And we had a few that, their children aged up, meaning they turned 26, so they're going from a family to a 2-person or 2-person to a single. Some people got divorced, some people got married, some people have more children, so, yeah, they change.
Point that out, so
Yeah.
that way you can see that there is a huge difference. They make a difference.
And it does, because if you were to take,
My comment was gonna be, I think to what she's about to point out was, I appreciate all the small places where you nickel and dime for lack of a better word, because your increase is less than the increase in that insurance. So do appreciate that.
Looks like you had a change in your printing process too, maybe
With,
$1,000 difference.
with 1,000, yeah, we do, that, the plot, you're looking at line 441.
Yes.
That we have a large plotter that we had a service contract, which it's no longer under contract. We don't want to call her old, but she's aged out of the service contract. So this $1,000 is simply some
Mature.
supplies. Yes, she's matured. Yeah, she seasoned, all right.
That's for sure.
Yes.
But she is spicy.
So had it not been for the change in health insurance, she would have had a 0 increase.
Yeah.
You're pointing out.
So just a reminder as we go forward, and my partner in crime here to my left does not have to make all the motions. I'm gonna ask if we're done with questions, and when we are done with questions, we'll take a motion on the selectmen's total unless we have changed it. And Jessica doesn't have to make the only one making a motion. So, one final call, any further questions in regards to the land use for Karen? I'll take a motion.
I'll move that we approved the land use for the selectmen, approved 462, 366.
Second. All those in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? Passes. Now we're going to go on to section 11. Anything interesting to tell us about the building inspections before I open it up to questions?
Just that we've been actually in the last couple of months remarkably busy. Even just a lot of mechanical, electrical, we pulled in 9 building permits today, which is just unheard of. Some of them are small projects, but again, the subdivision on Hardware, we've gotten some new homes there, so. But, yeah, my land use clerk told me today he pulled in 9, which is a lot for a single day.
And that counts things like generators and.
Well, he pulled in building permits, which are usually decks, things like that. And then in addition to that, we have electrical permits, generator permits, mechanical permits, that type of thing.
I will open up the building inspection page for discussion. Yeah, the decrease thing.
We try.
Legal is down, positive sign, that's line 275.
We have been trying to be extremely conservative and also utilizing an HMA and whenever possible for low or no cost legal advice. A lot of the legal things that we've had have been ongoing and are hopefully kind of slowly knock on wood, closing themselves out, but obviously you never know what we can come across.
Alicia had mentioned NHMA last week and what a help they've been. It's nice to see getting.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. They have a legal inquiries. You can either call or send an email and they will, if you send them an email before noon, you'll get a same day response. Sometimes even after that. And then if you phone call, they're really, really good. It's always great when you call them, asking them a question, they go, well, that's an interesting one. We try.
So the decrease in the printing would be the same mature young printer we talked about.
Yes. We also have reduced the number of printers we have. We had basically 2 printers that there was no, within feet of each other, there was no reason to have a lease agreement for 2 printers. So we reduced that to 1 to help reduce some of the cost. And again, just being conservative as much as we can.
Any further questions regarding building inspections?
There are technically 2, is the building official who acts as the code enforcement officer. There's a placeholder. It used to be 2 part-time positions. Now it's 1 full-time position. We just left it there's a placeholder there in case we ever needed to separate it. And then the clerk as well. And she is part-time. She's currently 12 hours a week, but we are hoping to bring her back to her 20 hours. She had been reduced because of the default of it.
You will notice in several places throughout the budget that $1, because if you get rid of category,
You don't wanna lose the line.
you lose the line. Yeah. So that just keeps that open. Any further questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the 134,543.
I'll think that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. On to 12. Sitting here for dinner. Thank you. So Karen had already mentioned to us, so I'll just point out again for the newer folks that this is the same, these are the same positions on the first, on the land use that we discussed, there's this tiny part of it, a section, an hour or so.
An hour for the planner and 4 hours for the land use technician
They
program.
come out of a different account, so the accounts. Services are paid for out of the appropriate account.
Sounds like there wasn't something in 2023. It just happened in 2024.
Oh, I must have forgot.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. No, no.
Way of doing it.
I know, and that's a good question. Yeah, but that's not anything. Hurry. It would be similar to probably what the default number says.
Yes. Did my homework.
You did.
Any more questions?
The invasive species management, you didn't use that this year. Is that what it's called?
We have expended,
That was encumbered.
we had some encumbered funds, and then there's a small amount that we're going to utilize prior to the county.
So there wasn't money used previous year that got pulled forward and then spent, so you wouldn't see it in that line.
Is it a big issue?
Invasives are an incredibly large issue, especially, yeah, we have both aquatic and terrestrial, aquatic things like milfoil, curly pond weed. But of course, as far as the terrestrials, most of you are familiar with like autumn olive, everybody makes them, and then oriental bittersweet, who make people like beautiful wreaths and end up spreading it all over Kingdom Come. But the, primarily with this particular line, and we tend to focus on the aquatic because you have to be licensed and certified to remove it. Whereas the terrestrial, we can utilize volunteers when possible. But at this point in time, with the intensity, or I don't want to say severity, but with the number of invasives that we have, the goal is control, contain and control. We're never going to eradicate it, but contain and control it as much as possible.
Where are they doing the remediations off the town beach? Is it?
It's on Winnisquam and Silver Lake, so there's a combination of the two. We tend to split the money between the two events.
Well, the Conservation Commission handles a lot of that too, right?
They do a lot of the Conservation Commission tries to get a lot of volunteers for the terrestrials, the autumn olives, the bittersweets, the glossy buckthorn. That tends to be, we have a lot of glossy buckthorns on the Courier Sanborn. And recently there was an article in the paper with some of the Belmont County Conservation District, had some of the student volunteers come in and pull it and try to keep it contained, but it once.
Yeah, they treated Ephraim's Cove there last year.
Yes, yes.
And I would think, controlling these are very beneficial to the town because we do have,
Oh.
two,
Between
our
Winnis,
tax base on, Winnisquam, it would affect, your abilities to use the lakes and.
Oh,
recover
absolutely.
Property values, we do have Silver Lake and Winnisquam and all the valuations there.
You can't keep up with bittersweet.
say if anybody wants to see invasives, just come to my property. I can give you the tour.
What is the official name for what we call the multifloral rose that we have?
When you say official name,
Is that what it's called, a multifloral?
multiflora rose is its actual,
It is.
yeah, that's another one. Yes,
That was something that the
USDA and
USDA
used as a,
gave free.
yes, a lot of them.
Years and years ago to all the farmers, and now it's just taken over.
A lot of them they were intended because the intent, like I said, they were given to the farmers for prevent soil erosion because they grow so quickly. There's a reason they grow so quickly. They found a spot they like, and unfortunately, once they start growing, they overtake everything, all the native.
I didn't need to see one of the thorns off it, and
So do you just take it, you just tear it up and then it comes back, or?
If you cut it, there's, depending on what you're looking to get rid of, typically what you'll do is stump it, cover it with either black plastic or something to basically suffocate it so that it can't grow. And if you don't, but it's one of those, all it takes is, like I said, a little bit, or even with the bittersweet or things that have a berry, autumn olive is another one that's a berry based. You can't stop the birds, you know, so it's, again,
And if you try to burn it and just.
yep, it's extraordinarily prolific.
Do you have enough in the budget? You say you have some.
It's never enough.
Yes, that could be a bottomless bucket, and unfortunately, it would never be enough. But this is, you know, a contribution to help, especially, like I said, primarily with the aquatics because of the need for divers, and you have to be certified. And then we volunteer as much as possible for the terrestrials whenever possible, nature groupie, that type of thing.
Can you like maybe paint a picture of like how much, like what does this 3,000 go to? And is there other towns who also pool their money to help
Yes.
with this? And is, you know, if it, does $3,000 get me 2 miles of cleaned up water, or what does that do? And the other people pool, like kind
Right.
of put into perspective what my money's getting me.
The $3,000 typically, this year it was split between Winterspawn Watershed, $2,000 and $1,000. I'm sorry, $2,000 to Silver Lake, $1,000 to Winterspawn Watershed. But again, those, because there are multiple towns around those lakes, they do a cleanup, and then each town contributes a portion. So they'll like Ephraim's Cove, which was one of the locations they focused on to bring the divers in. But even a single dive is $15,000 to $20,000 to get the divers out.
State grants and stuff.
There are some state grants, and then the pooled money with the Winterspawn Watershed, and then with the Silver Lake Association, which is Belmont, Northfield, and the other towns.
They can walk across the lake now.
Because unfortunately put some waders on, you could probably cross it. So it is a pooled, I mean, this is a drop in the bucket, pardon the expression, but every little bit helps. More questions? I'll take a motion.
Move $20,201 by the selectmen.
I'll second this.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
You're gonna do a fine job. But good night. Have fun. So I don't have little number tabs, so you'll have to tell me if
We're
we're,
starting with the town clerk one is our first.
Oh. and then just let me know what the next one we go to. I'm Jennifer Cashman, I'm the town clerk tax collector. We are in year 2 of the birth of our office. We're all fairly new. Well, I'm old, but my 2 girls are fairly new. And they're still with me, and that's a blessing. I said we are in year 2 of the birth of our office. Because we all started at the same time, yes, because we all started at the same time. It's been going pretty well. Just a review of the things that we handle in our office. We do motor vehicle transactions, we run the elections. Next year we have 3. I believe our default budget is only includes 1 a year when we have 1 election. We produce vital records, so birth records, marriage, we do marriage licenses, death records. We handle dog licensing, and I'm very proud to say that there are only 6 unlicensed dogs in the town of Belmont at this point. And I think at this point last year, there had to be more than 200. So that's been a pet project of Sam, one of my clerks, and she's done a great job. We also collect the taxes. We collect water and sewer. I process the liens, process the deeds, which, excuse me, we took 4 properties this year, and so far 2 have repurchased. So far in 2025, well, this is as of September 30th. In motor vehicles, we've collected $1.4 million. Dog licenses is 11,000.
5,000 in vital records. We just with the first issue tax bill, we've collected $12.3 million in that revenue. Other taxes such as gravel, current use and yield tax, about 85,000. Collected about $300,000 in tax liens. We've implemented a pretty aggressive payment arrangement program that's seen some success. In water and sewer, we've collected just about $1 million. And also, no, that was last year. Never mind. So we're doing town clerk first. All right. Any questions?
So before we move on to questions, real quick, just so that everybody is clear, yes, Sam LeClaire spells LeClaire the same as me, but I'm not lucky enough to be related to her. so
No
that's why
relation.
I'm not using myself or anything for those of you that are curious.
That's an excellent. She moved there.
There's 20 ways to spell LeClaire, so the fact that we both spell it the same way is.
It's fun.
Thank you. Questions? I mean, it's as close to a zero base budget as you can.
My budgets are all, I mean, it's mostly for contracts. Like I have to have a contract with Innerwear to do the motor vehicles and, you know, my Toshiba printer and that type of thing. I'm not buying a truck or looking at, I don't know. I would like to paint my office. That's a dream of mine. Yeah,
There's so much stuff in there.
I would paint around stuff. Well, hopefully we're moving sometime, but yeah. I do have a lot of stuff in my office. You were correct.
Last time I was in, I think it was picking up this book, the windows were closed, your ladies were doing training while still in the office.
Mhm.
You're utilizing some.
Online training courses. Yep, I bought them a package. So I went to this incredible program this summer and it's the New England Municipal Clerks Institute. And because it encompasses all of New England, it was just 100% professional development rather than clerking and what we do as clerks and learning how to clerk better. I don't know. And there was one of the instructors who had a class on like the Microsoft Office suite and how to use it. And she worked with a bunch of municipalities. So she's really in touch with, you know, how we can use it in our jobs. And she offers classes and sent me an email and I signed the girls up for that. I had bought them previously some Excel classes through another training venue that they didn't really care for that. Am I supposed to just continue talking about training?
No, I thought it was great utilization. They were getting their training. We didn't have to pay for them to travel and they got to continue to work and.
Right, and then I kept the office open.
Right.
Because it was just those two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought that was a great use.
thank you very much.
So is there any downside to not having a deputy town clerk? As opposed to having two clerks instead of not a deputy town?
Yeah, honestly, the downside is, you know, one of the biggest things, I've been in this office, I was in this office for 9 years and I left for a couple, and then I came back as the town clerk tax collector. And one of the things about naming a deputy is, you know, it's a public acknowledgement of somebody's hard work and dedication, learning their job, which this is a hard job to learn. There are so many facets to it, and getting a bump in your pay. And, you know, when I was named deputy, when I was here previously, I walked about an inch taller. I was very proud of myself because it takes a lot. Because of the default budget, I haven't been able to offer those increases. But yeah, I would love, and I need a deputy tax collector as well. So
What would a deputy tax collector do? Would it be a backup to you in the system?
technically they're a backup to me, but it would give me an opportunity between, so like I had previously mentioned, the two girls started at the same time. So they're very even with everything. if, say I could name a deputy town clerk, I could focus with that person more on the clerk side of things, because they're two completely different jobs. We do them all, but, and then the other person I could, focus on the tax collecting sides. And then, if I'm out and there's an emergency or something, there's somebody that is just like, oh, yes, I know how to do that, because, been able to give them that more in-depth training. So, yeah.
And the deputy clerk would need to be a resident, correct?
The clerk has to be a resident of the town.
Deputy tax collector.
Correct.
And that's also difficult to find. Granted, we do have both. We do have one who is a resident, one who is not, but that in some instances can be very difficult just to find someone who is a resident and has that expertise. Or wants to
And
do
I
it.
also have to be, my position as town clerk, I have to be a resident. Yes, I am elected.
What's your primary software package you use, like QuickBooks for taxes or
We use BMSI for taxes,
what is it?
BMSI, I don't know what it stands for.
Okay.
And they use it for finance as well. And then I use Interware, ClerkWorks for motor vehicle. So do you guys have a copy of my descriptions?
Yes.
Yes, so it lists in there, like, line 250 is my contract with Interware. And,
So they help you with those tools.
oh, yeah, the great support. Yep. I mean, I pretty much know everything at this point, but, I'm just kidding. I'm joking, of course, but yeah, no, their support is great. And BMSI is, yeah, it's a really, our version of this program is outdated. And I know that, in the budget last year, I believe that we did get our technology
Yes. That passed.
capital reserve fund to pass, and that's something that we have to start thinking about too, is upgrading that system, because like I said, it goes between finance. Alicia uses it to do the tax warrants, I use it to do the tax collecting, and it's gonna become obsolete at some point.
It's a DOS program for anybody.
It's
It's a DOS
real.
program. I'm surprised it runs on any computers.
Yeah.
So that's something that we have to start thinking about, is upgrading that software, and it has to be compatible across all of town hall. So it's not gonna be cheap.
They updated the payroll system,
Yeah.
kind of away from DOS to cloud, and that's been pretty good. But even within New Hampshire, the state of New Hampshire, a lot of people did use BMSI. And now people, I don't want to say scrambling, but everyone's now looking to see, where they can move to. Costs they vary, some are 6 figures, some are 20 or 30,000. Some are compatible with the town clerk and the tax collector and the finance director, some are not. So there's really a lot that goes into selecting it, and stuff to rush, and it's expensive too.
And also, it seriously cuts down on like, well, I know I reach out to my network of town clerks and tax collectors constantly, if there's something I need, confirmation on or whatever. And I think I know Guilford in the Lakes region uses BMSI as well, but she uses the newer version of it. So I'll be like, hey, on my MS-61, blah, blah. She's like, I have no idea, because things outdated. So that's just something that we need to think about.
And it's so different nowadays. I, and my own business, had to change software because the other company said, we're done.
Mhm.
We're not making any more, and we're not gonna support the one you have. Hey, go use this one. We did. And, yeah,
Nightmare.
it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And there are definitely some things they weren't ready for, so it is a longer that you can investigate to make sure.
So
Because it's such a big thing, and I don't envy you all.
the company we use, BMSI, was bought out by a company, G-Works. And so they're all cloud-based.
Yeah.
And I just went to a meeting, it was last month. And so when they bought them out, I think, let's say it was a year ago, they're kind of gung-ho to convert people from the old system to their new system. And what had happened was, and they learned the hard way, was the people they converted was kind of a disaster. So the word got out not to use this company, G-Works, don't convert because it's gonna be a headache. So at this meeting that I went to, they changed CEOs, guy was super professional, realizing they made that mistake. They're kind of not pressuring us immediately. They're not pressuring us to make that change, which was nice. But it is kind of telling that we do have to really start to do some homework.
And I would say have a good list of unique, things that you don't think are unique, but a list of scenarios that you would run through. Because I changed mine, and then, for instance, mine was not set up to take a deposit for a larger purchase. And that's, I'm not gonna order you a $10,000 dining room set without a deposit. It recorded as a sale. If you know anything about accounting, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I figured out my own way to do it, but it was all cloud-based and apps. Oh, you can buy an app for that.
Yeah.
And you add on to all these things
Yeah,
with
yeah,
apps. So then you go from spending $90 a month to spending $140 a month as the app. So good luck, is what I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe
and there's a lot of
more
volume that, I mean, certainly goes through her office and my office. I mean, everything you see in this book is being recorded by us.
We collected
And
it,
then,
he records
you
it.
know, payroll, paying taxes, things like that. It's a lot.
Makes me want to go back to my old spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And the hard thing is BMSI did everything for us. It did payroll, it did finance, it did AP, it did the tax side, it did the, the tax collection. And then the taxes for properties, it did everything. So to find a product that does everything is hard. So I think G-Works' intention was to do everything. They do payroll,
They don't do tax.
and they don't do taxes. So that's where we're like, and they have, I think they've kind of admitted that they can't do taxes yet. So that's where we're kind of holding off to see, but I know Guilford just did, and G-Works will do finance right now, but not the taxes. So Guilford just, because of the switch, they, were upgrading, they just spent $80,000 to update just their finance
Right.
software.
Right.
And for some reason in Belmont, our IT capital reserve keeps getting voted down. Last year, we were lucky, I think because we had it mainly funded by fund balance, but in the past, our IT budget keeps getting voted down, but we're gonna be in that same position where we're looking at asking for upwards of 100,000 to upgrade all of the systems.
And it could be at a time when, and I don't even want to say it, but I'll say it so that it's on record. It could be at a time like it's now urgent because they may not be supporting to help you.
It's a
if you have
necessity
buffer.
rather than a want,
Right.
absolutely,
Yeah, but you
we're
can try to
definitely
say,
approaching
we're
that.
done with the legacy, but you're not gonna do it anymore. You either jump to G-Works or you find something else, and you may just have to do that.
And that's why my comment of, I was concerned that because the system was old, they would do that, and all of a sudden, really are stuck at that point, and then going to that meeting, they're not going to do that, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't start looking. And I've talked to other finance directors, and there's other programs out there, and some are expensive, some aren't. Some people love things, some people don't.
And just because they're saying that now doesn't mean they'll say
It
that.
could change, yeah.
Yeah, because exactly.
Right, the registrations have to fall into that too? depending on the
No.
fees?
Registrations, I go through, where it's called something else, Nemo, I don't know, something new.
Is
That's a different,
that dictated by the state?
no. Nope, it's what was in place, when I first started in 2012, and they have great support and it works well, so.
Well, see, and that's the support is the huge piece, right? I would have kept my system 2 years ago if I could still call and get support, because you need, even an IT person needs to call for support. And then they said, no, in October 2nd, we're taking our toys and going home.
Right,
So-
and some of these companies they charge for the support. It was all $200 a call, or.
And just along those lines, if I call BMSI for support, he always sends me an excerpt from the manual that I have.
Yeah.
That's to me that I've already looked at, and I'm like, no, Bruce, I know, I can see how to do it, but I don't understand what I'm doing wrong to make these numbers, you know what I mean? And he's just
Was
like,
Bruce like born after DOS?
oh,
Yeah.
You are.
I don't know how.
I didn't know what DOS was, right?
Yeah.
I think what had happened,
Know about Y2K.
I think he's
Yeah.
trying to prep us to go to the other thing. So
Yeah.
prior to, I guess, this company buying the MSI, they didn't do that. It was you call,
And
they either fix it for you or walk
or walk
you
me
through it.
through it and come on your computer, Kelly Van
Yeah.
Begin something.
Yeah.
She was amazing, and then she retired. Cheers, that kind of stuff, but
Darn it.
I don't know.
So I think their task, Jen and Steve next year will be to highly investigate all of the options
Yeah.
about us, for all those modules, hopefully. And
Yeah, and I'd like to try to stay local, because I mean, I think they'd be more responsive to people, they want to keep the clients, if they're local, if they're somewhere in Texas or something, they're not going to.
Well, it does sound beneficial to have be using what other towns are using too to bounce
Correct.
things off,
Sure.
right?
Absolutely.
I don't envy that good enough.
Yeah, thank you.
I thought I'd close down my day, it was 2.5, and somebody opened the door, when are you open? I'm like, we're not sure, come in and try.
Oh, it's like, what my issue with the tax rate setting, I was on the phone with Bruce forever and walking him through, and then I called, it's like, your system is not adding up the things, it's not adding this and this, and this, and he called back like a couple hours later and said, Bruce, I'm so sorry, it wasn't you, it wasn't even really me, and it wasn't Steve. He goes, that's okay, it's all right, I'm glad you fixed it, your crisis is solved, and I was like, no, it was fine, you guys at all, it wasn't Steve. So they were great, he's like, okay, bye, you're crazy. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions for Jen on regards to the town clerk budget? We do have Jen for a couple other sections here.
I'll make a motion to accept the $144,153.
Oh,
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Jen, next on ours is the elections.
Okay.
Really nice school, Conley puts our books in order. For us.
What's that?
Really nice school, we Conley puts our books in
Well,
order. for us.
and Alicia,
And Alicia.
and Crystal.
We could.
And Sam and Devin.
That's
That's
all.
it.
They folded,
It just,
everyone is.
yeah, everybody.
We all work so well together at town hall.
Tell us about your lessons for the upcoming meeting.
We're gonna have 3 next year plus the deliberative, so we have a little bit of in February, town election is in March. We have the state primary in September and the general election, which is for the state, so it's governor, Congress, representatives is gonna be in November.
Busy.
Yeah, well, yeah, last year we had 4 because we had the presidential as well. And we had, so we had the presidential primary, deliberative, town, state primary, general election. That was a lot. But it's, yeah,
So again, when looking at these, I believe our default was like a one voting.
a one
one
election year.
So therefore, you're gonna see an increase because she did a third of the work. for-
I tried to, just because of the trend that we've been seeing, which hopefully we break this year, but I tried to kind of think more in the or election year expenses.
Mhm.
One other thing that is new is the state is requiring the town to now use the ABS system. That's the accessible voter system, for our town election, which it wasn't required before. And we didn't do it because the onus of the chip coding is on us. And that cost about $850 last year. And right now they have a right to bid out. The state has a right to bid out for other companies, so I have no idea what that's gonna cost, but I would assume it'll stay around the $900. I couldn't see it, well, you never know what's gonna happen, but
What is that?
Chip for each, for
Voting
the
machine.
voting.
for the
machine.
voting, so it's the one, it's for, anybody can use it, and we pay a lot of money to have it, so I think everybody should use it, that's how I vote, but it's designed for handicapped people to use. It's the accessible voting system. So it's computerized, it's on a tablet. You can listen to it or you can just read it. You cast your vote on the tablet, you put your ballot in the printer and it prints it out just like you marked it and you go and put it through the machine. It's pretty slick.
All right,
I'm not gonna lie.
I'll say with some of our ballots being long, but how many of those do we have to
One.
offer? Just, we have to offer one,
Yeah.
okay.
Is that based on,
Population.
population, thank you.
I don't think that is. I don't think so. Yeah. something that isn't in my budget, because we have a capital reserve for it, is rotor booths, which we just got a demo, and it's pretty big slick too. And I think we're gonna be purchasing some of those. Talking to you. Okay, moving.
Well, now you're gonna see a line at that.
Please,
Yes.
please,
Oh,
I
that's
love to teach people how to use it, and I mean, it prints out, you're just so delighted, you're like, look at that, that's great, yeah.
Do we have to buy a new machine?
We already did, and we're putting it into action at the town election, that'll be our first time using it. The state did match our funds half, it was half and half, I think it was 7,000 that we paid, and then they paid 7,000. Very expensive, and it was required, like, you don't have an option. It's kind of like the AVS using it you don't have an option. Which I mean, I get it, but
Well, accuracy, that's what you need.
yeah, absolutely.
So we have enough booths now, we're all squared away with booths?
Nope, that's why I went to the clerks conference, and they have vendors there, and vendors for software, they have vendors for everything, and they had a guy with the voting booths. And he's like, the only game in town. And he offered to send me a booth so we could set it up and see, because I was like, I think they're stupid. They seemed like there was no privacy on them. I saw it on TV. I was like, no way. But we set it up. It was so easy. Ron, it was so easy to set up. It took like 2 minutes, and it breaks right down all into a little square. And it was much more private than I thought it was going to be. And I think it's going to be a great fit, because we have so many newly registered voters per the state. Depending on the election, we have to have so many voting booths spots.
People like the tables.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a lot easier sitting down.
especially with the town election, because that's a long ballot.
I don't know the table.
Yeah. Well, I got 5 more little shields, so we'll set up tables too.
Well, and one of the spots on the new thing is a handicap.
It is.
Because that,
It would be lit slower, so we would put a chair there.
I always feel when I walk into the stand-up one that I'm definitely like the girl that makes a noise and bangs up against them in the whole.
Oh my God, you're the one that we talk about
So many.
every election?
stuck on the curtain and you pull
Yeah.
the whole thing over.
Yeah. They're all kinds of fun.
Can you explain that assumptions in the budget for the moderator and the assistant moderator? What was the 90 and the 60, and how does that work for 3 elections? They do 3 elections plus the deliberative session and everything, right?
Actually, it's the increase is because he does so much more than that. Our moderator's Alex. Not only does he do the election, so he has to do the deliberative session. That's one. He does the town election. He has to be there for the state primary and the general election, but we also have to do ballot testing for every one of those elections. And that's like a 2-3 hour process. And I don't think he was putting in to be paid for that, which isn't correct. So that added 3 more.
A couple meetings before the town election.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we just, actually Alicia pointed that out, and I was like, oh, I don't think he is putting in for those extra sessions. Yeah,
Go volunteering.
agreed.
A lot of volunteering.
Are
Yeah.
you adding additional supervisors and clerks for the 2026? Is that what the increases over what the actuals are for 25?
The supervisors, they're 102,
Yeah.
No.
103,
103.
both.
I get those numbers from the supervisor of the checklist who oversees the clerks, and the clerks are the girls that work or the people that work the books and, do the adding at the end of the night. And
More elections?
yes, we have more elections this year, so that would. And also, fun fact, now the checklist has to be verified every single year, whereas they used to do a purge, I think it was every 5 years previously. So that's gonna increase the amount of time that the supervisors of the checklist have to work as well.
So our default budget had only 1 election that year.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna have 3 in the deliberative.
How many do we have in 25?
Just one.
25.
Yep. It was a great year.
I love those, I bet you love those years.
I
24 we had,
absolutely do 4, but well, 4 plus a delivery, so 5.
so 26 should mirror sort of 24's actual, right? Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
Which,
they might have.
Very good.
very close.
Might have been the
Except for the
supervising stuff.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I see that. Maybe they have fewer.
Fewer clerks working.
Supervisors, their line is like a little less than they did at actual in 24. They did 9,500 actual in 24, and are budgeting for 7,000 this year.
She's not here. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I have nothing to do with their timesheets. They're independent. They're also elected.
The supervisors are elected and then the clerks that,
Are not elected.
I move 24,179.
I'll second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And sticking around for tab 15, which is tax collection and finance. And joining.
Well, DVF is joining me. Oh, the
Good
general.
evening.
The general.
Other things as well,
Other things, that's one for sure.
right? So I'll just give you a quick, I guess, overview of what I do and kind of how I took over this role. So in February of 24, I took over the finance director role. 23, we kind of had some turnover. We had 2 finance directors prior to that. So I took over February of 24. And through that process, let's say another 4 or 5 months, we then hired a finance clerk, which was my original position. I was a part-time employee here as a finance clerk. And again, assumed this role. It took Alicia and I probably 4 or 5 months to interview people. Luckily, we took our time. We probably sat down with 8 or 10 people. When we came across the current person, Crystal Jacobs, she's our finance clerk. I think we hit the jackpot at that point. She's been so helpful to me on the finance side, but she's also kind of a dual role where she helps Alicia, she helps Colleen, and she helps DPW, water sewer. I mean, really, she steps up and she's doing more than she was hired, essentially. Very smart. She has an accounting degree and very personable. So not only fun to work with, but again, great at what she does. So I think we're lucky to have her. Throughout 24, I guess that was kind of more of a transition year because 23, again, we had multiple finance directors, so we really had to kind of clean things up, if you will. I think throughout 24, Crystal and I really got a good process in place of trying to be more efficient and really just, you know, kind of getting on the same page as each other. I think 25 kind of carried forward. I think we are on that same page now, and you know, we've kind of delegated our tasks. Crystal has, you know, certain strengths that I do not have, and I think I have strengths that she doesn't have. And I think at this point, I'm pretty comfortable with how our department's running. And you know, we're always looking to get better. We're always really sitting down and finding our weaknesses. You know, those weaknesses happen when you don't expect them, and so then when they do happen, we just don't pass them over. We fix them and get better. And there's a lot that comes through our office. So, you know, we're responsible for payroll on a weekly basis, making sure taxes are paid, and making sure the deductions that are coming out on every single individual is happening at the right time. And they don't stay constant. People make changes throughout the year or the week, and you need to make sure those reports are accurate for many reasons. So we're paying, all the healthcare for everyone in the town. So we have to review those reports on a monthly basis, make sure every individual is on there, make sure we're paying the proper amount. The bills, the invoices are large. Same thing with retirement. So we just don't take the invoices and pay them. We're constantly reviewing them, making sure they're accurate. Because you don't want to make mistakes. It makes our job much harder if you don't find those mistakes. So the two sets of eyes, I find to be very important and very helpful. I catch her mistakes, she catches my mistakes, and in the end, there's really no mistakes, or very, very limited mistakes. So I think kind of proud at what we've done, and always trying to get better. But I think we're in a pretty good spot right now in this department. So as far as the budget, we really don't spend money. We use pens and papers and recycle paper clips, right? Our fingers, right. So it's minimal, but that's just kind of how it works. And then also, I think so much comes through our office. Every department comes through our office for one reason or another, whether it's payroll, whether it's invoices. And I would like to say every department, I think, ourselves working with the other departments are pretty smooth as well. I think people, all the department heads, their assistants, we're all kind of on the same page. And what I do find, and I do like, that when there's an issue, we get right to it. We're not getting an email from the fire department and putting it off for 3 days or something. So we're really on top of it. And the same is reciprocal. We call the PD office regarding a payroll issue or the fire department, and then they call us right back. So I think as far as how the town's being managed right now, my perception is everyone's really kind of holding their own, if you will, and kind of doing their job, and proud to work with them. And I think the town should be pretty happy with kind of how the department heads are managing it, because I see it, firsthand. So,
So does everything have to be POs and stuff?
no, POs are a certain amount. I think it's $750 now. Or,
500.
yeah, 500. Every invoice has to be signed off by the department head though, or Alicia. So, and if it's not signed off, then I kind of stop the process and we get it signed off, because if there's an audit, those are the things they look for. We're just not pushing invoices through. So it is an audit issue, and we'll stop it.
But I agree with Steve about how everybody in town hall, all of us work so well together. And if you need a lending hand, you just say the word and everybody's willing to help. And it's not a bad place to work. I don't hate going to work every day, which is really, really, really nice.
We'll see. You can't take it for granted, because when we go to these seminars and stuff and you speak to other people, that's how you know what you have. And an example, just because Jen's here, but this is a big example, and this is kind of throughout the state, and I hear this a lot actually. Because they're elected, they kind of don't have to talk to us. But all of her information comes through me. All her revenue comes through me. And I check her trial balance, I enter all her revenue. She could put me off for months if she wanted to, and I hear that. So again, taking it for granted of what happens. Yeah, I know. So, you can't take stuff for granted when you speak to people and you hear these nightmares, then you realize kind of what you currently have, I guess.
I like you too, Steve.
How often do you do audits?
Once a year.
Once a year, yeah.
Who does the audit?
We have an independent outside auditor. It's a requirement of the state that every municipality has an outside auditor, but we do internal audits. Like in my office, I balance daily, weekly, and monthly, and then monthly I balance with the finance director and the finance department.
So essentially, we tried every April, have the outside auditors come in. Crystal actually does the bank reconciliation because it keeps the separation of duties. So
Mhm.
I have access to the bank, she does not. So I move money on a daily basis, especially for motor vehicles. I have to pay the state every day. And then I'm always moving money between the water department, the sewer department, and our general account, and vice versa. But again, that's where Crystal comes in, and when she reconciles the bank account at the end of the month, she's kind of,
Checking you.
she's checking me.
It's a lot of
So-
checks and balances.
So,
So
Yeah.
to answer your question, our auditor is that Sean.
Sean, yeah.
And company.
they're out of Manchester.
They've been our auditor for a very long time. We have a really great relationship with them.
It's usually the property.
It's Val.
Vashon,
John,
Bachon, Clukay, Clukay company.
And our audit is published, it's on our website and you.
And it's in the town report.
Yeah.
yeah, and our
And
twenty,
December
our
They're great.
2024 has not come back from them yet. And that will be put on the website.
It's something that Claremont School Board evidently did.
I just received that, I didn't know that.
About that, yeah. Yeah,
Those are different. I don't know how, like, they got away with it, not getting an audit or. not
I would think
getting
they have to
something,
be
but
audited
it's-
too. Mhm.
Does your software do automatic reconciliation with your bank account?
No, no.
Or anything?
It's
The newest
BMS
software was,
packet.
the newest software will start to do that, but really everything's just entered. You know, again, an example, I record her revenue, but if we had newer software, there were cases where as she's doing her revenue, I could just press a button.
Yeah,
And it
and
would,
just
and it would
carry
pop it
it.
up. And that's good, but sometimes, and I would prefer that, but as a
It
whole,
was for less mistakes.
I like also reviewing stuff, like that's just kind of how I work, so I'm constantly, like, if I'm entering or looking at it, that's where I catch it. You know, so it's a trade-off for me anyways, I don't trust a lot of things, I guess, you know, systems.
He's from East Steve.
Yeah. I'm a skeptic by nature.
So we're ready for a motion to,
Does this say any more questions?
I'll move that we approve the financial administration for the 73178 as approved by the law. I'll second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
I'll make one more note on the audit. We do share, a portion of the cost of the audit with other departments. So the library gets audited, but they share a small portion of that. And then water sewer, since those are separate entities, they also chip in towards the cost of the audit too, because they also get audited. It is empty, as you can see that audit number.
Property taxation, number 16, is that still you?
I don't have anything on that. I don't know what it is, but I'm happy to advise.
She'll talk about anything.
I-
so.
Yeah, okay, great. I
That's
do,
why I thought maybe it was.
I mean, I'm happy to stay if you guys need the
Entertainment?
expertise, is the word I was gonna use.
Okay.
What is,
I'd say Jen is great to work with on property tax, I mean, you know, when there's an issue, you know, we abate this, or what do we need to do about this, or why does this look funky, or, you know, like we just bang it out.
So you were the one talking to this one?
It's kind of a shared, I mean,
All right.
she's the solo person in that budget, but the assessing budget really is, covers Colleen's salary. This year we wanted to add in the cost of postage because we have been doing, you know, more postage, and we want to just kind of allocate that or capture that correctly within her budget. So that is new this year. Before her postage would be under the executive. We just felt it better to kind of separate that out, you know, when we're sending out either the tax information or abatements and whatever else.
Current use,
Current
you've got a
use.
bunch of current use stuff that needs to be cleaned up, so there's gonna be. a
The
bunch of
veterans
stuff.
exemption, any of the exemptions
Yeah.
and credits, any updates that were required to by the state comes, through that office, so just better to separate that out. The service contract vision is our assessing software for our tax maps, and so that is, where all of the information on your assessments goes into, and then vision merges into BMSI, which is how your tax bills are essentially produced. So that's our service contract for vision. Access GIS is, that's the online,
Tax map.
online, right?
Yeah.
And then BMSI, of course, is, what Vision talks to BMSI for the tax portion of it. Legal appeals and appraisal, KRT is our town assessor, so we pay them for any abatements. The legal part of it is if anyone appeals their assessment, then they can go to either the BTLA, which is the Board of Tax and Land Appeals.
Yep.
And or if they want to say, no, I'm gonna skip you, they can go to Superior Court, which we did have one case this year who did take us to Superior Court. Conference and dues, that's for calling to attend conferences and our dues to be part of NHAAO, which is the New Hampshire Assessing Administrators Association or something like that. And then also her fees for NHMA, which is the New Hampshire Municipal Association. Property appraisal, that is for KRT to actually do the appraisals each year, and San Souci, we contract to do our utility appraisals, so they go out and appraise utilities. We have a contract with them until 2029. Equipment is on repair or printer or whatever. I don't know if I got the money in her retirement.
So the legal this year is really high.
The legal year was high, about 6,000 of that was just for that one case to take us to Superior Court. Do you think we had more abatements this year due to? This would have been for the 24. 25, we would have covered the 24.
Right, so
About-
2024 had a lot of
Carryovers from 22 and 23 as well.
right, so we had a lot of waterfront people that decided this, there's tax request abatements and stuff. So KRT went out in the field and actually like boots on the ground in a lot of these places and discovered that, the properties weren't accurately reflected, like for condition and stuff like that on a lot of them. So even though we weren't able to give them abatements for, they thought that, well, my value is just too high. We were able to give them abatements because the condition of their property needed to be described better, and so they were able to get a reduction. And then because of the timing of when those happened towards the end of the year, some of those just automatically had to be carried to 24, and people had already paid their 24 bills. So we had to abate a bunch of money back, but we kind of knew that was gonna happen ahead of time. But we don't have a revaluation this year.
Mhm.
So this year, I don't anticipate that we should have very much. Just because, your value is the same as your value was last year, and if you didn't fight your value last year, I don't know why you might find it this year instead.
Because my next question was whether or not the 15 was really gonna cover us in the upcoming year, but that all makes sense.
Do you use arbitration or anything, or does everything go to court if you?
So for the Superior, we did settle in arbitration, so we didn't actually go to Superior, but that is part of the process.
And the BTLA kind of requires you to try to settle ahead of time before you get there. Like literally, you can both be in the waiting room and be next on the docket in 2 minutes, and BTL is saying, hey, can you settle this before we get in front of everybody? So they really encourage trying to settle things.
And you're allowed to use email for anything, or does everything have to go through US mail for all these things?
Most of that stuff has to go through the mail.
And it's a copy to us and a copy to the,
Yep, to the representative, if the person has hired someone to represent them, and to the property owner themselves. And then we send out letters, and if they get a refund, and then right now they kind of go in two different batches because the decision on the abatement gets made usually a week or two before the payment can get processed to go out. But I think we're gonna just try to combine those together and save 75 cents where we can on postage.
try to do some more, email too.
If we can.
If we can.
I think a great thing then that you separated out that postage to see what really,
Yeah.
if that really is. More questions?
I'll move on, 145,784.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Before I entertain a motion for adjournment, do you have any other housekeeping before next week? So we're next Thursday, same time.
Yes.
And Nelson, you can please next week. And
We need to approve the minutes from last week.
They're not ready yet. We're gonna do 2 sets next time.
The only thing I can suggest, I mean, we can bump up revenues to tonight, unless you guys wanna leave now and get to that over with tonight. But you guys wanna just discuss revenues? We won't even take like 5 minutes. 21, it's up to you guys.
I think we'll use it all over. Revenues.
I have a motion to review the revenues. She's the one that presents. So what happens, Lee, is on occasion, if she's the one that presents them, we're able to move up things and get parts of our work done ahead of time. We're not moving, and we're not gonna look at, per se, the fire department's budget without anyone being. But this is something that she present, it's the thing she just gave to you tonight. And she's gonna be able to explain that to you tonight.
So do we have a second or?
Do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
All those in favor of reviewing these revenues tonight? Aye, opposed? Let's do that.
All right, that's the 21, which is, I handed up to you earlier. So about, when do I do my regular revenue? I recall when I first set my revenues, but then in about November, I call up the state of New Hampshire, DRA, and we go through the estimated revenue. That's when you see the R. So they have a couple numbers that they feed to me that they get from the state of New Hampshire. And so when I'm setting these revenues, these are the other revenues that we use to offset the tax. So these are, you know, used to offset taxes. So when I call her, I basically pull my report in the MSI and I look at my actuals. And now, so I'm looking at, okay, this is November, how much more revenue do I anticipate taking in from now until the end of the year? So I'll go to my department heads, so just take, you know, the motor vehicle, which is on the first page, 3220. When I met with her, I think she reported that she's at about 1.4 million. She'll take her estimated from last year. She'll take her estimated now where she is and calculate kind of out where she expects to be for the end of the year. So she's telling me that she expects that we're gonna end 25 at 1.8 million in collection of motor vehicles. And I do that with, you know, our building permits. I'll go to the building office and the town planner and I say, okay, your actuals are X. How many more applications do you think are coming in? Do we have any more projects closing out the year? If so, what do you anticipate our revenues to be? So at the end of the year, obviously, these will turn to actuals depending on where we actually land at the end of the year. The goal is to never go under the estimated, because then that means you didn't collect enough in taxation because you overestimated the revenues to offset the taxation. So these are inclusive of our yield tax, the excavation tax, so the yield tax is the timber tax, the excavation taxes for the gravel pits. Interest and penalties on delinquent taxes, so those are those people that don't pay their taxes on time, and then they go into, you know, delinquent for either the many of the years or in the interest that's collected on those throughout the year. The business license and permits. Motor vehicle permits, the building permits. So those are all the fees that we collect, and you can kind of see how that, you know, funnels in through the town to offset your taxes. On the second page, the meals and rooms tax, that number is set through the state of New Hampshire, and I don't get that number until, just got that in the fall, and we actually don't get that disbursement until the end of the year. The highway block grant, again, that's set by the state. She gave me that number in the fall, or in the beginning of November when we met. And some other grants that we get throughout the state that I know are guaranteed to come in. Income from departments, that is a accumulation of the land use, not land use. So when land use takes in applications and subdivisions and help me out, see some of these residents, the zoning, when an applicant has to pay for postage, we collect that, so that can, some of these income from departments do help offset obviously the costs in the other departments that we have. If police do a detail, if fire did a detail, that would be the income from departments. Do you have other revenues or income from departments that you can think of that goes into that 330?
Did sale of municipal properties?
That's in the miscellaneous below.
What do you get from the railroad? What's the railroad tax?
State owns it now, so. Years ago, they used to get a lot, not anymore.
Is that for the line that goes along the lake, or the,
Yeah.
and when they use it, they pay tax or?
No, I just know we gotta check once a year and I don't know. They took the revenue. I think I'm going to assume that any town that probably has the railroad coming into their towns have a portion of that given to them.
I got one for you. How much revenue do we get from the Lockmere Dam?
That, I think you've asked me that and I don't remember. We've talked
Hold
about that.
on.
What?
We've talked about that in the past, so I don't.
Yeah, I mentioned it last year. The dam, when they got permission to build it, it was hoping to go on the Belmont side, but it ended up on the Tilton side. But we're still supposed to get revenue from it because we approved for the dam to be, the new dam to be built. It was back in the days when the Carter administration, they would try to get revenues from everything. We had a little power plant on Badger Dam, and so they were doing these all over the place. My understanding is that a company out of Colorado owns the dams, but we're supposed to get revenue from it.
I remember last year she looked and she found it.
I did, I just don't know which line it is, but I can report yet again on that.
It was not a large sum.
No, it's not a large sum.
The other one I have a pet peeve for years is the excavation tax. The amount of gravel that goes up and down, we don't get a whole lot of money for it.
Right,
I think it's
right.
like 2 cents a ton a yard. It's crazy.
$8,500?
Well, I would think
Yeah.
my representative.
Yeah.
Anything.
Well, they need to up the 2 cents then.
Yeah.
And I think there was. I think that's how she.
That's set by the state.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it is that kind of thing, and I think they're proposing to double it 4 cents per.
Thanks.
That'll lower our taxes.
Well, see, we have companies like Lynch holding it all in Massachusetts. Well, the state of New Hampshire has been supplying gravel for Massachusetts for years. Most of the fills for Logan Airport came from New Hampshire, down in Bow and those areas down there, they all up by rail.
The aggregate.
Yeah, that goes to Boston Sand and Gravel.
So our sale of municipal property, that can be anything from if we have a vehicle, equipment, that would be in that line. This year we did do, tax deeded property, so then that becomes municipal property, so then we either auction it, or seal bid those, and we have done two or three this year, and I'm set to, close by the end of the year on 2 more properties that we tax deeded. And sometimes they can be tax deeded or repurchased by the prior owner and go back to them if they repurchase it. The interest on investments, that is, our New Hampshire PDIP. So we have, basically, instead of before, we kept all of our tax money into just Northway regular old checking account. And then as the interest rates rise, we switched all of that to sit into a PDIP. So last year, the interest rates were about a point higher, they're about what, 5.5 last year?
A little over 5 right now. They basically, it's short-term interest rate. So whatever the short-term rate is, 1 year and under, it's kind of what that's gonna track. So right now, we're around 4%. So this is, I don't want to call it an investment pool, but everything they buy is essentially 270 days of maturity and under. And a lot of municipalities use them. There's about, I think, $600 million inside that fund and full liquidity. So they kind of stagger it out that if we can move money at any day. And it's really ran through the state of New Hampshire to kind of approve that to be.
Well, they tried to,
Well,
eliminate.
it is state, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so last year, that was last year.
Oh, yeah.
The banking
The banker
wanted
is
to eliminate it.
Right,
They want.
they lobbied that heavy to try to eliminate that. That was a good.
Yeah.
That was a good move on our part. I don't know what our total that we've received.
So last year was like 210,000, but this year it's come down to about
Down because-
150.
Right. Because of the interest rate.
Because the interest rate. has
And
come
even
down.
at the
But-
end, beginning of it, you can see that I have a change amount. So at the beginning, when I did send this, I figured 160, and then as the rates came down, I had Steve kind of factor out and see, and so we figured, to be safe, we're gonna estimate 150.
Right. And if you left it in the bank's essentially, and you want the liquidity.
$300.
Tie it up, you would essentially get.
Yeah.
Nothing.
We've done very well with that change.
This isn't tied at all to the investments on the trustees of the trust fund, right?
No.
No, but the same place.
They also use.
Right.
New Hampshire PDIP, but it is separate.
Okay.
It's, so essentially twice a year when we get the tax payments in, it's a large sum of money.
Right.
So we'll maintain our operating money and the rest will go into that.
Right.
And I try to pay attention to balance it, not withdraw too much. And, just have enough for our bills and we get as much interest as we can, so.
Gotcha.
I mean, even 50 grand or 100, well,
But again,
thousands of dollars in interest. from a
it's sometimes the, 5 to 7 million. And
Yeah.
then as the months go down, even if there was $1 million left, it's $4,000 of interest, right? So, it's been pretty good.
Very lucrative for us.
It's a lot of money. Now they are lowering the short-term interest rates currently.
Yeah.
So when you hear on the TV that the Fed has lowered interest rates, that is affecting that pool. Because the Fed controls short-term rates, not long-term rates.
Help in one area and.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
I can discuss that all day, but.
Who's the town use for their bank? You use more than one
So we're
bank?
currently using Camden Bank out of Maine. They purchased back in. They purchased Northway back in March, I think it was. And it's been pretty good. It's actually been seamless. Because we had a good relationship with them. We had a good balance of funds with them. They made it pretty easy for me and really for the town. So and they're receptive. I call you know, they have a number for, again, kind of larger clients, if you will. Answer right away and, it's been pretty good.
And then on the backside, it shows, so when we talk about the total appropriation, so everything that we discussed last year that we brought to town meeting, with it between it being all the separate warrant articles, the operating budget. The cumulative was the 14,047,000, and then you take everything in this packet right here, which is your total revenue and credits of the 5.9, and then the 8.1 is what we need to raise for taxation. So you can see that those revenues do help a huge amount of, you know, lowering your tax rate and lowering your tax amount that you need to collect. That's the gist of that.
Do you need any sort of approval of this? This is just a referral, right? This is
Yeah.
just,
And these are just estimates. These are, you know, yes, we use them as, you know, my best guesstimate that we're gonna collect by the end of the year. And we, or the
Budget doesn't count again this year. Is it any point, are there penalties that are involved in the?
No, we've had many, there's a lot of times.
Going on at the fall and we have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doing everything we can to educate and promote, you know, the budget. That.
It's gonna go to a point where it's going to be very hard to stay, it's gonna get you back.
You know, this year, as I'm, you know, I pull our, this is what our, like, actuals are, you know, against our budget for this now, so I run this every single week after, Steve pays the bills, and I'm closely monitoring, then I kind of funnel it into another spreadsheet, where I know how close and tight I am. And I will say, for the last 2 years, I mean, and it's a blessing in disguise, but because there has been vacancies in police and fire, that's the only thing that has saved us. Had those positions been fully funded for all these years, I don't know what we would have done. I think we would have either had to cut employees, we would have had drastically cut services, because even when I kind of go back in and I factor, and I was like, we wouldn't have made it. I don't know. Like I said, we wouldn't have been able to give raises. We would have probably had to cut people from full-time, part-time probably. But because of their unfilled positions, which is what has saved us from not overspending the budget or to reduce so badly.
additionally, especially, I know those that have been around for a couple of years have heard it. For every year, we're in a default budget. It takes 3 years or is it 5 years to recover from one year?
I understand it was 5, but if you want.
It was 3 or 5 to make up what you lost. So we're now in our second year of a default budget. It will take us a while to dig out of the hole we're in. Once we get our budget passed.
Yeah, if we do.
Wrong. Wrong. Wrong, did you hear me?
All of that word.
Didn't hear it.
He took it.
Are we too loud for you now with the, how does the device work? Good?
Thank you all for staying for that little bit of extra. We have, at times, although this seems to be a pretty good agenda breakdown, been able to jump ahead and knock things off when we're finishing up early, and we will never
Sometimes
jump
that saves us having to come back for that.
for that one little thing, because
Last little
we never jump ahead without a representative of a department. That's not fair. But that gives us one thing off, a little extra time. Do you have anything else to say in regards? So next week, same date, same time on the agenda is health agencies, general assistant, cemetery trustees, library trustees, and capital outlay.
So your tab 17 through 22.
We will
Minus
skip 21.
Minus 21, which we don't.
And we probably actually might not even do capital because the board hasn't even discussed capital yet.
And my question was going to be whether or not, and I know that might not be time, but it looks like a lot of the people that we talked to, well, I was just thinking that fire and police and such that and highway are all at the same time. They tend to have capital outlays at the same time. If they're all in the room already on December 11th. Is that too much to try to get through?
No, and because really the capital, you don't have any say over the capital anyway, you would just be reviewing what the board is bringing forward. And they haven't even reviewed or decided on anything yet, so I think it'd probably be best to move the capital to the 11th anyway.
So, in an effort to save on paper,
Yeah, I'm not gonna print you guys.
let's just all note that we will be moving the capital outlay of number 22 to the bottom. Is it, we usually do capital outlay towards the end, is it? Or do you want to
Yeah,
start with
that
it?
would be fine,
We will go out of order into capital outlay as the final topic. That does often brings some of those same. So it should be fairly quick next week then.
yeah, I mean, the health agency can go quite a bit and.
Oh,
one
both
time
the different agencies.
done and-
Yeah.
Get
They
a lot
were
of
all,
questions.
most of them were represented.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? There you have it.
Most of those fell.
7:54. We're still on camera. Feel free to leave behind your. But you take them, bring them back in, yeah, okay.
And.
Yeah, whatever you wanna leave as far as the highlighters or the notepads, then you can leave or bring them with you next time. And we'll collect whatever you want to leave.
Yeah.
So,
And the unfortunate thing is that there was some people that sat on the,
That was today.
it was.
Did you like that, Ron?